Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to do a highlight of Tier 2 Domino, and we're going to start off in this fight against Corvus Glaive, Stage 30 of World Boss Ultimate. We're going to be using Coulson and Valkyrie both as supports, which should tip you off that Domino needs quite a bit of help. We're also using 3 dodge ignore strikers, which gives a total of 105% ignore dodge for Domino. And then we've got the heal and the mind control from Scarlet Witch, or the heal from Anti-Venom, of course, and the mind control from Scarlet Witch. But I wanted to do this because, of course, this character is not only one of the new characters from the update, but also one of the characters that you need, one of the free characters from the update, but one of the characters you're going to need to rank up if you want to get Strife. So you're going to have to tier 2 her at some point. And so I wanted to give you my thoughts on her standing, especially in comparison to Phantom X. So I'll probably be doing a Phantom X video very soon. My early thoughts, my kind of quick thoughts on Domino is that while she seems to have a lot of stat buffs, her skills don't make up for those stat buffs. She has, few skills that deal high damage. Only basically her 4 and 5 deal great damage. The other ones do pretty, like 3 basically has almost no damage, 2 has just a short amount of damage, and 1 has a short amount of damage. They're good for the iframes, and right now it seems like I'm doing a lot of damage, but it's mostly from the strikers that I'm getting a lot of my DPS here, especially from Scarlet Witch. The other problem that she has is that her 4th and her 5th skill both have, more so her 4th skill, but her skills seem to have some kind of targeting error. And what that means is if the enemy moves too much when she's trying to get her 4th skill off, it will cancel. And when it cancels, she's basically just left standing there doing nothing, and it leaves her exposed. And you can see there it took me almost 2 minutes at stage 30 with 2 high-ranking support characters. Valkyrie and Coulson add a lot of additional damage to supervillains. Of course, Coulson's guaranteed crit is not being added because Domino already has guaranteed crit rate, so it doesn't stack. But the rest of the kind of stats that she's getting should make her much higher in terms of her overall DPS, but we're really not seeing that from this clear. Additionally, if you haven't already noticed, she's very fragile, and despite the fact that she gets guaranteed dodge, it's very easy for her to take damage and just quickly die. Because she has low base stats as a speed type, she really can't take a punch. So while I did build her offensively, I gave her a damage proc obelisk, I do think that moving forward I would be better off giving her something like a CTP of, I'm going to take a lot of damage here, give her a CTP of patience and build her much more defensively. I think that's a much better route to go for the character. Now, I didn't see much in the way of her PvP kind of prowess, so I'm not sure if PvP will be better for her. Generally, speed characters that have a lot of those stats in addition to guaranteed dodge tend to be better for PvP, but even then, I have to switch there or she will die no matter what. Even then, I just don't see, I'm not very impressed with Domino. The fact that one of her skills doesn't do any damage, the fact that her 3rd skill is really only good against very specific opponents. I mean, it sounds really good in theory, you know, she's gonna probably die here. It sounds really good in theory, you know, extra cooldown for your enemy, but then in practice it usually just doesn't work, and you're left with just rotating through 4 skills instead of rotating through 5 skills. And so I just think that right now she probably needs some kind of buff, possibly in the form of a uniform, to really shore up her stats. I think her stats is really where she gets hurt, and she just doesn't have enough HP to take a hit and keep on going. And her base physical attack stat is very low. I think it's less than 17,000 at tier 2. And her low base physical attack stat coupled with the low damage on her skills just makes it very hard for her to do enough damage. I mean, I'm struggling here to finish stage 30 with, 100% dodge ignore. I'm going to die here. Yeah, 100% dodge ignore, 2, support combo characters and a very full roster of strikers. And you guys know that I don't usually like to use strikers. I don't usually like to skew the stats by including others, but honestly, if I hadn't used strikers, there's no way Domino could have cleared that stage at all. So I would have had to go lower than 30. And I think going lower than 30 for someone like Domino going to 25 or 20 is just really going to make things look bad. And as you can see here, a base physical attack stat at tier 2, I'm ranked 315 or 316. So I really am not showing you a poorly built Domino, but yeah, we're talking less than 17,000 physical tech, extremely low, very low HP. And then if you look at her details, even, with my build, I'm only able to give her about 36% dodge. Most of that is coming from her passive. So I think you're going to need to have a Domino with close to max, if not max, 75% dodge to even have a chance. On the flip side, I do have very good attack stats, 73% crit rate, 199% crit damage. I'm almost maxed, literally maxed on all of those offensive stats. And she still took 4 minutes to get down to 5 bars on stage 30 with 2 supports. If you take another character like Deadpool or even Phantom X with these stats, they are going to melt Corvus's face in about 2 or 3 minutes flat. I guarantee you. She has tier 2 passive that rivals, Wolverine in terms of the actual stats that it offers her, the buffs to crit damage, the buffs to guaranteed crit rate, and it's still not enough. And that basically just comes down to a very low physical attack stat, even with my 4-star physical attack Uru and my crit rate Uru, and then skills that just don't have enough damage, don't have enough hits in and of themselves to do enough damage. So I do think that an offensive Domino is a setup for failure, or it's just going to be inefficient and it might end up disappointing you. I personally wouldn't recommend tier 2ing Domino if you don't want to get Strife. We have so many good speed characters right now: Shuri, Angel, Phantom X, Deadpool. The list goes on and on. Black Widow, Luna Snow. There's so many great speed characters that Domino just doesn't have a spot in them. As far as the ISO 8 set goes, because she doesn't give herself a lot of attack speed buffs, I would go with Power of Angry Hulk, but you could also go defensively and give her something like Drastic Density Enhancement because she doesn't have very many defenses, and Drastic will give her an additional max HP and ignore defense rolls in addition to the shield. For the custom gear, I do have, it's not the greatest obelisk, of course, but it is a 20% crit rate, 100% damage proc. I went full offense here, people, and it's still not good enough. So I would recommend a CTP of Patience or something defensive, a defensive obelisk, possibly, dodge, max HP, invincibility, guard break, dodge, invincibility. I think with tons of dodge, you might be able to get away with not having guard break immunity, but it's still risky because she has gaps in her iframes, and she also has a little bit of a wind up on some of her iframes that make her interruptible. I did test her out in some PvP content and some arena content, but it just wasn't pretty. I didn't have any great highlights or any great matchups to show you guys. She killed a couple of opponents here and there, a couple of blast characters, Doctor Strange, but it was essentially just she got lucky and she killed them, and every time I killed someone, it felt like I was getting lucky, no pun intended, or she would just get one-shotted. And I gave her a defensive team with Wasp and Anti-Venom here so she could get some heals, so she could not get debuffed, and it wasn't enough even with her leadership. Basically, nothing worked. So if one of you out there has a better build for Domino, I encourage you to share it with me. I am a little bit disappointed or a little bit kind of frustrated with the character right now. I do think that she should have been a little bit stronger. I think maybe her physical attack stat could have been stronger, or maybe some of her skills could have had just more damage in general. There's very low damage coming out of her 1, 2, and 3, which basically just leaves you 2 skills to work with. And it's a bit misleading because she has so many stat buffs. She has so many other stat buffs: 20% dodge on her 4-star passive, 45% ignore dodge plus 8% crit rate, and then all these whopping stats on her tier 2 passive. But then you take her out to play and she hits like a noodle. So it's a little bit of a misleading character if you just focus on the stats. So I wanted to bring this to you guys and give you my kind of PSA on the character in case you want to flush all of your resources onto her. Additionally, I want to point out really quickly for all of the characters from the new update, because they're all mutants, if you get their potential, if you realize their potential through playing World Boss and get it to 100%, and you go to Enhance, it costs Phoenix Feathers and Emkron Crystals. So unless you're a die-hard Domino fan, I would strongly recommend that you stay away from this page, because you're going to be investing a lot of very expensive resources right now on a character that probably needs a uniform to see usability. And that also goes for not Phoenix. It also goes for Psylocke as well, and all of the other X-Force members, which is pretty wild to realize once you calculate just how many thousands of feathers you need with a cap of 3,000. Finally, before we end off the video, I wanted to really quickly cover the event quest. We have this in the game now. It's pretty exciting. You get tokens every single day, and you can put them towards the event shop. The event shop has some pretty nice things to offer. We've got a tier 2 ticket, which a lot of people are going to like, a 6-star rank up ticket, which is not bad. And then I think a lot of you are going to be looking at both the Emcron crystals and the Phoenix feathers. The reason why I recommend these two items, the Phoenix feathers, of course, it's going to allow you to rank up Strife or Deadpool's gears. It's also going to be needed to get Deadpool and his gears, I think, to 25. So you're going to need it twice. Once to get Deadpool's gears from 15 to 20, and then again to get them from 20 to 25. It's also needed for Cable's uniform. It's also needed for Cable's gears to 25. So there's feather requirements everywhere. The Emcron crystals, on the other hand, I recommend for the realizing of potential. So when you're on that page, if you want to get your Psylocke to level 70, don't use Phoenix feathers. I know that they're harder to get and you get fewer per day, but the Emcron crystals are going to be the better match here this time around. I know the traditional wisdom is to use the item that you get more of, but the Phoenix feathers are just in such high demand right now that I think most high level players, most veterans, are using the Emcron crystals solely for the enhancing potential, and then they're saving as many feathers as they can for the gears, for Strife, etc., and for the uniforms. So those are my tips for you guys. I can cover the shop purchases, the new items in the shop later on in another video if you guys want to see that. Let me know. Most importantly, let me know what you think of Domino, if you guys have a better one out there, or if you think I've maybe overlooked something or I'm kind of undervaluing something. Talk about it in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. Hit the bell if you don't want to miss any of my videos. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.